In this video, I want to look at how to solve rational equations. So equations with rational expressions in them. The first step to solving a rational equation is to multiply both sides of the equation by the least common denominator. This will clear out the fractions. We can then solve the simplified equation. And finally, we can check our solutions, and we need to be watching for division by 0. So we may get a solution for our rational equation in step 2 that is not actually a solution because it causes division by 0. So let's work through some examples. 1 over x minus 8 minus 1 equal to 7 over x minus 8. So here my least common denominator. The only thing on the bottom of a fraction is x minus 8. So I'm going to multiply everything by x minus 8. Well, that means I have 1 over x minus 8 times x minus 8 minus 1 times x minus 8 is equal to 7 over x minus 8 times x minus 8. Here my x minus 8's cancel, I'm left with 1. I can distribute my negative sign, negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times negative 8 is positive 8. And then over here, my x's cancel and I'm left with 7. So I get negative x plus 9, once I combine the 8 and the 1, is equal to 7. Subtracting 9 from both sides gives me negative x is equal to negative 2, which tells me that x is equal to 2. We should check our solutions, and like I said, I'm watching for division by 0. That would give me 1 over 2 minus 8 minus 1 is equal to 7 over 2 minus 8. No division by 0, so this is a good solution. My next one, 1 over 6x squared is equal to 1 over 2x plus 7 over 6x squared. For my least common denominator, I'm going to write down what's on the bottom of the first fraction. The second fraction has a 2, that divides into 6, and I already have an x, and my third fraction is also 6x squared, so this is my least common denominator. I'm going to multiply everything by 6x squared. So 1 over 6x squared times 6x squared is equal to 1 over 2x times 6x squared plus 7 over 6x squared times 6x squared. My 6x squareds will cancel. I have a 1 on the left-hand side. Here, one of the x's will cancel. 6 divided by 2 is 3, so I'm left with 3x. And here my 6x squareds cancel, and I'm left with 7. We can subtract 7 from both sides, so that gives me negative 6 is equal to 3x. Dividing by 3 gives me x equal to negative 2. And if I double check my answer, I can double check this would not put 0 on the bottom of a fraction, so this is a valid solution. Next, 1 over r minus 2 plus 1 over r squared minus 7r plus 10 equal to 6 over r minus 2. The first step here, in order to find the least common denominator, is to factor this denominator. We need numbers that multiply to give me 10 and add to give me negative 7, so negative 5 and negative 2. So now my least common denominator, the first fraction has an r minus 2, the second one has an r minus 5 and an r minus 2, and the third one has an r minus 2. So I'm going to multiply everything by r minus 2, r minus 5. That gives me 1 over r minus 2 times r minus 2, r minus 5, plus 1 over r minus 5, r minus 2, times r minus 2, r minus 5, is equal to 6 over r minus 2, times r minus 2, r minus 5. My first one, my r minus 2's cancel. 1 times r minus 5 is just r minus 5. Here my r minus 5's cancel, and the r minus 2's cancel. I'm just left with a 1. And over here, the r minus 2's cancels, and I can distribute 6 times r is 6r, 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. So r minus 4 is equal to 6r minus 30. I can subtract r from both sides. That gives me negative 4 is equal to 5r minus 30. We then add 30 to both sides. That gives me 26 is equal to 5r. And then divide both sides by 5 to get that r is 26 over 5. And if I scroll back up, we can double check. When I plug this into the original equation, I do not get 0 on the bottom. So it is a valid solution. Now let's look at 5 over x squared x plus 5 is equal to 4 over x plus 5 plus 1 over x squared. The first fraction has an x squared and an x plus 5. The second one has an x plus 5, which I've already written down. The third one has an x squared, which I've already written down. So I'm going to multiply everything by x squared x plus 5. So I have 5 over x squared x plus 5 times x squared x plus 5 is equal to 4 over x plus 5 times x squared x plus 5 plus 1 over x squared times x squared x plus 5. Here my x squareds cancel and the x plus 5s cancel. I'm left with a 5. Here the x plus 5s cancel. I'm left with 4x squared. And over here my x squareds cancel. I'm left with x plus 5. Since this is quadratic, I want to get everything on one side, so I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. That gives me 0 is equal to 4x squared plus x, since the 5s will cancel on both sides. I can factor out an x. That would give me 4x plus 1. So I have two equations. X equal to 0 and 4x plus 1 equal to 0. And if we solve this equation, we'll get x equal to minus 1/4. So I do need to double check and plug them back in. If I plug in negative 1/4, negative 1/4 squared, not 0. Negative 1/4 plus 5, not 0. So this is a valid solution. However, if I plug in 0, I can see that will result in 0 in the bottom of an equation or a fraction. For instance, here I would have 1 over 0 squared, 1 over 0. So that's not a valid solution. We only have one solution here, which is x equal to minus 1/4.